Welcome to the Free and Equal Debates. I am Craig Pastor-Jardula here with Kim Iverson Show. I'm sitting down with Dr. Jill Stein. Dr. Jill Stein, I got to tell you right now, you exceeded my expectations today. I thought you did a great job. I've been critical of the Green Party over the last several years. It's been a crazy ride, and we've kind of ended up over here. I want to talk to you about a few things that I agree with you on, a few things I disagree with you on.
Sounds good.
Let's talk about what's going on in Israel-Gaza. Today, I thought you had the best answer out there right now. I think that when they teed the ball up for you, you hit it far and long. By far the best answer on that stage. I just wanted to give us a little context of what's going on right now, what we need to do to end this genocide, how we need to approach it, how we need to look at these things, and give us just your overall assessment.
So, essentially it's really easy to end this genocide. The president simply needs to call the leader of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and tell him that the genocide is over. Israel is a proxy of the United States. Our weapons, our money, our diplomatic cover, and our intelligence are all enabling this. Ronald Reagan stopped Israel's war on Lebanon, where he had followed the PLO, was massacring people by thousands. Ronald Reagan picked up the phone and said it's over. And within 24 hours, Israel had withdrawn its troops and the missile strikes and the bombing was done. Dwight Eisenhower did the same thing several decades earlier. So this is a routine process. And so it's actually simple. The International Court of Justice has made clear what needs to be done, that the genocide needs to end, the ethnic cleansing needs to end, the occupation needs to end, the home demolitions, and so on. So it's pretty straightforward, and the U.S. needs to basically come into compliance here. It's only the U.S. and Israel, basically, versus the rest of the world who get what's going on. So this is not complicated. We have a renegade government right now. They are ignoring the will of the people, which is overwhelming, that people want an end to the genocide, and people want a weapons embargo on Israel, because that's the only way that it's going to happen. But what's actually going on right now? The war is being expanded into the West Bank, into Lebanon, and Israel is bombing several other countries: Syria, Yemen, and Iran. And serious bombing of Iran is about to take place. Probably their nuclear facilities, and Russia is in a military alliance with Iran. So we're playing with fire here. And I have to say, it's absolutely a dereliction of duty on the part of the White House, which is supposed to be the commander-in-chief. They have handed the baton over to Bibi Netanyahu, who is acting as commander-in-chief. And by the way, the draft is back. The draft is here, and our sons and daughters, nieces, nephews, cousins are all registered for the draft. You may not know it. It happens automatically, but you're in the draft. And all it takes is for the White House to declare that we're in a war now, and we need some boots on the ground, which Joe Biden has already said and has already sent some over. So we need to take this very seriously. And how do we end this? We end this by voting to end it, by not taking marching orders from the war machine here, and by going to the polls and telling everybody you know to go to the polls and vote to end genocide. You can vote for our campaign, which is a vote against genocide, and it is a vote against World War III.
I'm glad you mentioned Russia there, because a lot of people are kind of sidetracking that. They're not talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
With the situation going on, and you pointed it out right there, Iran is tied to Russia, China is tied to Russia, tied to Iran. They're all tied to each other.
Exactly.
How would you handle the current situation? Because I think it's forgotten. A lot of people don't recognize the fact that there's almost 500,000 people killed in the Ukraine-Russian war, which we are partially responsible for our actions in 2014. How would you end that situation over there? What would you do as far as negotiating with Vladimir Putin or anything else? And I don't want to. I know so many times it's the mainstream has smeared you as a Russian propagandist, and I think it's awful that they've done that, because this is taking away the ability to negotiate with another superpower. What would you do to end that war?
I would disregard the warmongers here and the the war industry and the military-industrial complex and all of its proxies who are trying to drive this war and who have been driving it from the very beginning. It's shameful that this war happened. It was completely avoidable. Russia was begging basically for neutrality from Ukraine. That's all that was involved here. Like Austria, following the Second World War, had agreed to neutrality. policy. This isn't like some radical proposition. And unfortunately, the U.S. refused to negotiate in advance. After the war began, within 2 months, under the auspices of Turkey, there was a peace treaty which had been negotiated, which Russia agreed to in good faith. Russia made compromises, as did Zelensky as well. So the parties got together and came up with a compromise, and the U.S. and the U.K. came in and basically said it's over. So this is outrageous. This endless war machine is bankrupting us, and it is endangering us. We're at risk for a nuclear war in the Middle East. We're also very much at risk for a nuclear war here on the border of Russia. And this is nothing but a Cuban Missile Crisis in reverse. Come on, guys. It's not so hard to understand what's going on here, because we ourselves had our nuclear weapons launched and in the air in order to basically stop Russia from putting its nuclear missiles on our border. At the time it was Cuba. This is like, I think it's at least as close as Cuban missiles were to us. The missiles on the border of Ukraine.
They're all there. You hit it on the nose. It is a reverse Cuban Missile Crisis. Let's stick with foreign policy, because over the weekend, I think some people got a little scared. They remembered the old Howie Hawkins talking about the Ukraine situation. Your vice president said something. You didn't say it. I'm not putting it on you, but he did make a tweet that talked about the Uyghurs in a genocidal situation. A lot of people were upset by that. My simple question to you is, because I'm not going to have you speak for Vice President Ware, but do you believe there is a genocide taking place with the Uyghurs now today in China?
So I have not believed that. I'm listening to my running mate as a Muslim who has different sources than I have. So I'm open to better understanding what's going on. But, great powers do abuse human rights. This happens a lot. And does it amount to a genocide? I don't know. I don't find it inconceivable that there may be some human rights abuse here going on. And what degree it is, I don't know. But empires do this. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I think the United States is the greatest empire in the world today. And as Martin Luther King said, my government is the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. And that's all the more true. So, I am guarded about accusing other countries of human rights abuse and violence when our country is the greatest purveyor of that violence. But, I'm just aware that this comes with the territory of being a great power. On the other hand, I have to say China has not gone to war since 1979. So, it's important that we're dealing with different kinds of powers here. So, that's my impression. I'm not close to China. I haven't studied China the way I've studied, say, Ukraine and Russia. So I'm far more informed about
Israel-Gaza, which you're excellent on that. You know more of that than most of the candidates in this situation. So there was a lot of confusion with the Green Party when COVID was around. I know you weren't running. There was conflicts between the steering committee and the Black Caucus. A lot of people said that Jill Stein kind of stayed on the sidelines of the whole situation. You are a doctor. Would you recommend somebody taking the COVID vaccine today to get their boosters?
So as a doctor, I know that these recommendations are very dependent on what is the strain of the virus that is pervasive today and who is that person and what is their age group. This is not simply a matter of intuition, and what was true last year is not true today. So I do not take quick positions about public health issues. They all need to be studied, and the decisions need to be based on information, and information which is processed by institutions that are not corrupted by vested interests. And that's where I take an absolute position that we need to get the Big Pharma out of the business of being in our regulatory institutions on health. That's my across-the-board position.
But would you call for a ban on gain of function on day one if you were president?
A ban
on gain of function.
Oh, gain of function.
Would you call for a ban on gain of function on day one?
Yes, I would, because gain of function there at least needs to be a moratorium on it until it is brought before the American people and we can scrutinize what's happening. I would, on day one, this hasn't kind of made it onto our agenda, but I keep meaning to put it there, is to have a COVID commission on day one. And one of the things it's got to look at is the origins of COVID.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are grave concerns here about where COVID came from, and the U.S. government is not cooperating in this investigation.
I often say sometimes that the Green Party lacks a populist message, right? And I think sometimes it could be considered an uber leftist party. One of the areas which I get a little confused is when you say the word climate crisis. You mentioned it throughout the whole night tonight. Climate crisis, climate crisis, climate crisis. I think you even had a tweet last week that said you can thank the Republican and Democratic Party for global warming. What exactly is the climate crisis? Who are you to blame? And more importantly, because I think where people get scared, where I get scared is I believe they want to reduce the carbon on me. Like, in other words, they want to restrict me from using a gas stove, where if, in fact, climate crisis is something that we need to really take seriously, I would say the military would be the first thing that we should look at first. But
Yeah,
maybe you
absolutely.
can explain a little bit about what you think the climate crisis is
Sure.
to people in the populism that don't really jive with that message.
Let me say that I think people are suspicious for good reason, because this issue has been hijacked by predatory Democrats who are looking to sell, stuff. Basically, they're looking to do a what's the word? Disaster capitalism here.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the perfect word. Yes.
Yeah. This is about disaster capitalism as far as they're concerned. And, in my view, they are not promoting solutions. They're basically promoting profits at the expense of solving the problem. Look what the Democrats are doing. They're basically selling renewable energy, but they're not drawing back on fossil fuels. And working people and everyday people should not be paying the price here.
Yeah.
This is why we call for declaring an emergency and getting the funding in order to build what we need. The burden of this should not fall on working people. And, we need a number of solutions here. But let me say, and I got into this as a, as a medical doctor concerned about what's making us sick and killing us. One of the things making us sick is, air pollution. And one of the things killing us is actually the climate crisis, which is exploding now, I'm sorry to say. Some of the statistics that I said in this debate are really true. And, people are starting to feel this now when they get hit by these superstorms. And by the way, and super hurricanes. These hurricanes are not only more intense, but they develop faster. So pretty soon you're not going to be able to evacuate at all.
Yeah.
And we're just lucky that we're not getting direct hits, but we are going to get them. And this is not like something in the future. This is happening now, and these trends are accelerating. And we're hitting these tipping points, which are going to basically accelerate the crisis.
I only have two more questions.
Well, let me just say one other thing. Our water supply, the Colorado River is in a drought.
Yeah.
And that feeds the California agriculture system, which supplies half the fruits and vegetables. So we're going to feel this in our pocketbooks in a very big way very soon. You think you've seen food inflation? Just wait. This is drought. So, we have to deal with this. And the only way we can deal with it really is preventively, because crisis by crisis, it's like we just can't do it.
This is the last question, too. We got to get you out of here. But I have to ask you this question because it has been a point of criticism. There's a lot of people out there who feel that you didn't give you weren't fair with Cynthia McKinney. That taping is going around of you calling her an anti-Semite because
where did that happen?
I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
It's going around.
Well, where is it? I'd like to see
it's all over the internet.
Like where? I mean, the accusation, but where is the evidence?
Well, we could send it over. If you're saying that you never
this?
called her an
I
anti-Semite,
never
then
called her an anti-Semite.
Okay,
Good Lord.
somebody might have doctored something because it's out there.
You know who's called an anti-Semite? People who stand up for Palestinian rights against Israeli apartheid. That's who's called, Jesse Jackson. I mean, everybody's called an anti-Semite for taking an anti-Zionist position. I'm an anti-Zionist. I have been an anti-Zionist for a long time, and it's been a position of the Green Party. So I don't know, I'm highly suspicious of this rumor.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you took that head on, and thank you so much for taking the time and sitting down with me, the Kim Iverson Show.
Yeah.
If I have any further questions, I will pass them on to your awesome campaign manager, Jason Call, who I love so much. Dr. Jill Stein, Free and Equal Debates. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much, Dr. Stein.
Great talking with you.
You got it.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Sure thing.
Thank you so much for watching. This was just a clip from the longer, larger show that you can catch Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, at KimIversonShow.com. That'll route you to the platform where you need to be in order to get the full uncensored show every Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Click on that link, watch the full interview. See you there.